This poem is called The Parachutist. In the deep snows of January, I breathed the territorial pissings of her tumbling hair. I slept in her cell phone signal. I deployed Trojan nerve. She passed back and forth beneath my window, waiting for her slum Valentine. There were snipers perched on her every glance, alien outposts tuned to her pulse. Insect currency swarmed around her. She introduced me to her bird, the coming ice age beneath its tongue, where she stored Led Zeppelin and milk. Her sputtering heap of a car, and the skins she shed whenever the dopamine mafia closed in. I idolized her ditch frequency, her body of blinking deer and its stooge thunder. The cigarette butts that dropped from the base in her apocalypse, even the radiant moonlight of her laptop where all her ponytails had died. I learned the lycanthropy of her bedroom and the owls that collected in her wallpaper. She grew up in a Florida of tetanus sitcoms. Her family was in a crustacean tank. When she was third world enough, she lived on the margins of all-night television, searching interstellar time zones for abandoned skies, of which she suspected I might be one. There were too many clouds to trust each other. The air was cluttered with distress signals from the laundromat life. Someone's crowd was always breaking down. One night I knelt and prayed into the soft Andromeda sleep that fell from her ceiling, that we might pack up our lives and escape these voids together. When I stood on an L-train platform of liberated static and listened to the traffic in her apartment. A bearded tattoo receptacle made an entrance to bad hip-hop. He carried Humboldt Park fog in a backpack through her door. $20 bills slid through the salt in her palm and spread like love on the countertop. When he unzipped the bag and opened the sky, she kept falling through. This is called, this is a longer poem. I'm going to try to read it. This is called The Unwanted Crown. And it begins with a quote from Charles Simic, which is from the poem Song. It's to the mad ones' crowns, if they still want them. I don't know if you know that poem, but it's a great poem. My eyelashes fluttered like spermatozoids under waves of lakeshore ooze. Cigarettes bled from the hole in my face, and the Zeppelin mists in my bed whispered of evolution and frogs. I was modal and alone. When the clock turned on me, I hibernated in the winter of a third-floor apocalypse. Prescription Cleopatras fanned fire on the corner, and life coarsened around me. I muttered at the stag shifts that dragged their cochineal cargo past my knees. I saw two lovers unbuckling the wind. Their skins turned into paint and alabaster, and a grudge was born between their legs. I watched a static woman suffer beneath the cold touch of a philanderer. Her body floated above the city in swirls of carbine mist and hot coal. I took dictation for the seraphim that sang to her in a voice filled with salt water and empty hands. When her shadow cried, I burned a feather on the air. For years I hovered beneath the clicking time clock of the hydra-headed Persian mafia. I wrote for pool balls and poker chips, lonely men covered in tap algae and cologne who spoke only CNN. I lowered myself into their season of absolutes. I memorized the great white apes who munched on pita bread and sound bites. When they raised their flag, I gathered all my sleeping boarders and flew. Across Italy, I followed her trail of cave dust and spent condoms, copulating hammocks that nested and quivered when the wind bit. I wandered through abandoned thunderstorms where ovulating maps still sprawled across the tile. Maids undressed in beds of fingerprints and combed their black wings for flights to Vegas. I passed through the carpeted mausoleums of casinos, the scent of neem oil wafted from terracotta tans, and a dial tone slept in a Gideon Bible. The desert sun dried up like a uterus in the sky and spat out the ticking mind of an iguana. I dressed myself in a suit of moonlight and migrated to the banks of the Chicago River. I knelt on the bridge between April and May, tracking the deflated basketball that floated on its cold green water. I screamed into a payphone harvest with a feel for burning. Buses dropped eggs from tailpipes, and the sky fed me from its abattoir of dreams. At night, I hid in blockhouses, whistling at the stars like cattle. They hung their blankets of sand in my eyes. Deodorized artists drifted in packs through calcite fog, and conspiracies floated on open sewer mouths. I met a man whose power was a wolf he'd captured and taught to speak to the universities between sighs. I collected the hoof prints of deer and mailed them to offices inside the sun. I wrote poems for the hallucinating prairies in the heads of laundromats. I dragged a trail of ash everywhere I went. Bartenders passed over me with their eyes,